So getting into the talking about the guesswork and measuring, I think that's a key factor, and it can really, justify the investment because that's a big con for a mulch producer is I can color in my grinder, I can color in my trowel because the investment's minimal. Well, to step up to a dedicated machine, there's a huge investment there, but accuracy of colorant, quantity, and consistency can be a lot more efficient, like we've talked about. So talk to me about some of those key design factors that mulch manufacturers need to be thinking about when choosing an application technology.
Well, I'm a strong proponent of the automation. We've put a lot of effort into that over the past, say, 5-6 years. It's been one of our biggest focuses, and it's been challenging, but it's to the point where we're very happy with how well it's dialed in. The fact that they can input their recipe and not have to rely on their operator so much, right? That's the main thing. I think if you sat down and had an honest conversation with a lot of these owners, they would tell you a lot of their pain points is in maybe consistency of their operators. Again, there's not great operators out there. There surely are, but to take that part of the equation out, is huge. As far as the technology and how some do it versus others, as far as automation goes, you mentioned the trommel and how the feeders, just dump these large surges into the coloring drum. We'd like to use a separate belt or much more controlled burden on a belt where we can actually measure
a feed conveyor
that is dedicated for that, where the speed of that belt, the side skirting of that belt, that the burden, the total flow is very predictable, and we can measure that. I mean,
before it goes
in the coloring drum, just seconds before. So then the software, takes, as far as start-stop delays, things like that. It's been very nice to dial it in that way. Some machines out there, I've seen them do their measuring on the outfeed,
right,
basically their finished product on the belt, because they don't have a well-designed feed system. It's the only place they can measure, right? So I'm not sure how their software works, but it's
more reactive, right?
It's definitely reactive. So, I have trouble wrapping my head around how well it really works, right? And get some of the start-stop sequences is important, right? So when the machine runs empty, when does that dying water turn off, right? When you get these surges, right? Especially if a machine you're measuring on the outfeed, you don't have a good feed system, right? So you're putting full, 8-10 yard buckets of material in this thing all the time. How do you know if there was a bit of a dry spell?
Right.
Yeah. And when does your computer know that?
Right.
It's so I can imagine there's probably a lot of wastage with that sort of setup versus measuring right where you should, which is just before your water and your colorants are injected.
Right. Yeah. I just think about seeing a lot of mulch yards where you see a lot of colorant. It's kind of messy and it's all over everywhere. And it's really because that 30, 45 seconds it takes an operator to get out of their loader to come over to shut things off. And you do that day in and day out. You think about how much colorant can be wasted on the ground or not on your material.
Right.
Just significant savings there and that automation of on off. So when it comes to a standalone unit, you've got many different options as far as stationary versus mobile or diesel versus electric. Talk about the pros and cons of one versus the other.
Well, on the portable side, right, it's we want to develop portable machines just for it's more user friendly in the sense that it's more versatile, right? There's some yards or some companies have more than one yard where they color. And if you have a machine with a throughput capability is enough, you might only have to color this one yard for, say, a few weeks to build up, a stockpile for as much room as you have there, right?
Yeah.
And then you can move that machine down the road to your next yard and make a stock inventory there in a matter of a few weeks. So you can bounce back and forth. In doing that, the portable machines are typically diesel, right? They can be offered in electric, but being diesel, you're not worried about the infrastructure required. Now, when you mention diesel and some guys are used to electric equipment, they think, oh, it's inefficient. Well, you're probably used to thinking about the power required to grind wood, right? It requires a lot of diesel. But we're talking a mulch color machine that doesn't require much power. You're burning maybe 3 gallons of diesel per hour in one of these, relatively compact diesel units.
Well, electric is often more efficient. It's hard to dispute that.
Sure.
The infrastructure to get power to the part of your job site where it's usable can be substantial, which oftentimes people don't consider.
And often for the startup guy, right? Maybe he doesn't have electric there.
Right.
Maybe he wants to, start with a smaller standalone portable diesel color machine.
Correct.
Other infrastructure not required. Concrete pads.
Right.
Which is a pro of the portable, con of the stationary.
Right.
Housekeeping. So the ability to move that machine, and it may not be a daily task, may not even be a weekly task, but to be able to move it, do a thorough cleanup, and then reset. You might always color in that one spot. You may never want to move it. But the benefits of the portability are still there. Resale value of a portable machine versus stationary machine is big.
The ability to demo it, to see it.
The ability to demo it, right? So you have a dealer with a portable machine. It's like a portable grinder or trommel. You want to see it? Okay, we've got one in stock. We'll take it to you.
Right.
And we could be running in a matter of minutes.
Right.